Saka and Emil Smith Rowe. Yeah, they're good players, they said, but they need some more finished products, some more final product. They can't score goals, they said. Ask and you shall receive. Are you not entertained? Hello and welcome to the Gooners podcast, season 6, episode 54. Jared, Boxing Day, man.
What a holiday season Arsenal has brought to us. The kids are passing out gifts everywhere, and I absolutely love it.
Dude, I'm so here for this. It's like a reversal. Normally, the old fucks are the ones who are having to buy presents for the kids, and this year I'm just sitting back, being entertained, being given 3 points after 3 points. It's lovely, and even though I don't celebrate Boxing Day, do you have to celebrate Christmas to celebrate Boxing Day, or is it two completely different things?
It's two completely different things.
Okay,
so you're on the team. You're on Team Boxing Day now.
I'm on Team Boxing Day. I'm actually allowed to participate. One of our open questions for the day. So if you're in the green room, if you're in the red room, waiting on your open mic appearance, or if you're in the chat and considering coming in at gooneropenmic.com, not only do we want to hear your man of the match, but we do want to also hear which player on Arsenal would make the best boxer, pound for pound, because it is Boxing Day, and you may not select Sead Kolasinac. So it has to come from somebody else. Keep it to yourself until you come on air, and then we want to hear that from you. But obviously, today, Norwich 5. Jorginho just scored, of course, a penalty. Norwich 0, Arsenal 5. Even though the U.S. broadcast had all the scores reversed at halftime today, I'm not going to do the same thing. So, Jared, is there anything before we get to it, is there anything to complain about from today? Or is this just exactly what we need to be doing against teams of this nature?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think, if you're complaining about anything, it's because you're really, really digging deep trying to find something. From beginning to end, it was a good performance. There was no real let off like we've seen in the past when we scored. And, it'd be hard to pick out someone who didn't play a good game. Now, obviously, Norwich is going to need an absolute miracle not to be relegated. They look terrible. But, yeah, like you said, it's a matter of going out and doing what you need to do, bumping up the goal difference in the games where it's there to be got. And they certainly did that today.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a flat track. That flat track, whether you consider it to end on Tuesday because of playing a team that's got a lot more rest than we will have had in Wolves, or whether that ends on New Year's Day, that's up to you. But stacking up points and putting them in the bag, and it certainly is making Europe look that much more accessible. So let's get started with the open mics tonight. We've got some room in the red room if you want to join us, but we've got a good group, and I got nowhere else to be at the moment. I don't know about you, but so we're gonna give some time to people. Probably try to keep it to about 5 minutes each if we can, but you know how we get. Fergus,
hey, how you doing?
Guns and ribbons. Today,
hey, Fergus.
You're not just wandering around a city such as Leeds.
I'm not in Leeds. I don't have to hold my phone to my ears just to listen to you. Last time I couldn't hear you at all.
See your face rather than your ear.
I've even got the cans on. Look, I look like proper professional, don't I?
I've always been a big fan of your cans.
Yeah, I bet you have. Well, after meeting you in the Tolly in the toilets, I knew you liked my cans from that moment onwards. Jared, how are you doing? Hang on, Mike. Jared, how are you?
Merry Christmas. Well, sir. It's great to see you again, Fergus. How are you?
Yeah, very, 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 very good.
You talk about how we met in the toilets, but you don't mention how you followed me in there, which is the weird part. But
I required to go to those toilets. I didn't know you were in there, but hey.
You didn't hear the moaning and the. You didn't hear the
no, let's go outside. Isn't that what the song says?
there was American accent moaning coming on from the toilets. So,
yeah, well,
the toilets.
You talk about Boxing Day. For all the Irish and American Irish in the group, it's St. Stephen's Day. Okay, so it's Boxing Day here in England, but St. Stephen's Day is what I was brought up with, and that's what the day is all about. Boxing Day is something to do with about the Wren boys go around collecting money, singing carols and stuff to earn some money through the Christmas period. The game, bloody hell, boxing. Granit Xhaka is my boxer. Can't stand him. I'd love to box him, but. He's the one that you would just thought he'd have a row. He wakes up in the morning, has a shave, unlike me. He has a shave and he looks in the mirror and he boxes the mirror. He hits the mirror because he wants to have a row with somebody.
My only reason, I was gonna say no Klassenek, no Xhaka, but the only reason I left Xhaka in there is because not every boxer who's aggressive is actually skilled and like I'd see him possibly making some dumb decisions and getting disqualified.
Okay. In tight, if he gets you in the corner, you're gonna catch some elbows. You might catch a headbutt. He's gonna fight you dirty. He'd be a difficult one to overcome, I think.
There is an alternative on the boxers. You could go El Neni. He's a journeyman. He'll just get boxed. He'll just take the punches, take the money, carry on, step in the ring next week. He'll do the same thing all over again. What a great game. 5 goals. Brought a goal difference to +7, I think. We just need Spurs with their games in hand and I don't want to talk about them too much, but if they just drop one of those, and Burnley away, Brighton away are both really difficult games for them, and they're going to have some fixture congestion. So if they drop one of those, we're in there. West Ham, like this will go in a couple of days. It's the decorations. West Ham come down with the decorations, and they're proving the point that they do it every time. My highlight, and I know you're limited because you've got a big red room, not green room. My highlight was Odegaard, Saka, and Martinelli. The combination of the three of them. Now, I've not been a huge fan of Martin Odegaard. I thought it was a good, sensible buy in the sense of. He was 34 million. He's 21, 22 years of age. You couldn't go wrong in the sense that we get our money back on the fella. But he's not getting annoyed with his fellow players. He's looking like he's getting a bit more dogged and determined in the way he goes. And he seems to have this little connection going on with Saka and Martinelli. And, Saka... We've all sang his praises left, right and centre, but Martinelli. Question to you two guys. What's that?
Is he going to get a song, Martinelli? What more does he need to do?
Martinelli has got a song.
Okay, sing it.
Oh, Martinelli, da-da-da-da-da-da. He comes from San Paolo. It's a shit song.
Yeah,
personally. I like the start bit, and he plays for us, and he gets battered, doesn't he? I was going to ask you.
Battered today.
Well, I got battered yesterday, Jesus. But that's a different story. A question for you guys. Odegaard, how good? Sorry, no, Martinelli. Was Arteta correct in holding him back for as long as he did? Jared?
Those could go either way, and it's hard to say right now that he was wrong to handle him the way he did because he's hit the starting lineup and he's flying. Now, who's to say, if he brings him on the start of the season, he doesn't do the same thing. But you never really know. It's kind of always a roll of the dice with the young players. But right now, I don't really have any criticism of the handling. We're sat 4th after Boxing Day. We're at the halfway point of the season. We're on pace for 70 points. Martinelli scoring goals. So right now, I have no complaints with the way he handled them. I think the season's gone probably better than most people would have expected. So as of now, I really don't have any complaint with it.
Mike?
And I've said repeatedly, I would rather argue in favor of the known than argue against the unknown. You just can't know what would have happened if A, B, or C occurred. You can't assume that Saliba would be having a great season here if we hadn't sold him. You can't assume that Mavropanos would be a solid Premier League center back simply because he was player of the month last month in Germany. You can't assume that Martinelli, with a different injury recovery level, with a different mentality, with a different situation going surrounding the team, would have just been scoring goals for fun and covering the ground on the pitch that he's covering from minute 1 to minute 80 if he had been playing in those games that Willian played last year. I'm not suggesting that I'm in favor of Willian having played in front of Martinelli. I'm just saying you just can't plug in the now and assume that it would have been replicated all throughout had he played. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing to talk about, but I don't believe in speculating on things that you cannot possibly prove one way or the other. So I have no choice other than to come out in favor of the way it's been handled, because he certainly seems into it. He seems dedicated. He doesn't seem that he is in any way carrying any kind of resentment towards having been kept out of the squad. And you got a guy who's hungry and ready to play for you every week. He's the first name on the team sheet for me right now, and he's earned that. And I'm not sure that would have been the case last year. You might have seen some bad performances and his shoulders drop.
So tonight's result is done, and in fairness, before this result, I thought 3-0, and we end up at 5-0. I think is fantastic. We got Wolves at home in a couple of days' time. Again, I'd look at that one as a victory, probably 2-0.
You take any victory in that game just because they're going to be better rested than we are. It's 2 games in less than 48 hours. To me, that's one of those games where we have to show our character and just get the 3 points, no matter how we get them. Fluky penalty in the 84th minute. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Just get
the huge one for me, and the huge test for me is halfway through the season. As Jared said, we've reached that halfway point. Is the Man City game on New Year's Day? That's huge for me. And listen, I don't necessarily expect to win, but I expected a performance more than anything else. That's it. Mike, you've got loads of other people. Thanks very much for having me on.
Hopefully, you did more of a hosting job on this one than an open mic job, and we appreciate that.
I can't
always
help
the consummate professional. Hope your family's doing well, feeling well. I've got my daughter in the basement. That sounds awful. She's got COVID, so she's isolating in the basement right now.
Yeah, there's some kids been in basements for years. You know that.
Yeah, well, it's been 2 days for her. We're hoping that,
she is your daughter. She's not somebody else's daughter, is she?
No, she's mine, and we're trying to make sure that she gets better. And I'm not quite sure why I brought that up, but other than just to say that
listen,
we know everybody's sick right now, so I wish everybody good health, and we're going to move on. So Fergus, if I don't talk to you, I will talk to you. But
happy and healthy New Year to you all. Thank you. See you later.
Same to you, Fergus. Thank you.
All right, we have joining us next. If I can get this to work, hold on. There we go. Thank you. He did it himself. Joining us next, all the way from. We haven't seen this guy in a long time, and the last time we saw him, I don't think things were that great. So. Joining us from the furthest east of anyone in the Red Room right now, Drago.
What's up,
guys?
Dragomir, a.k.a. whatever, Bulgarian Gooner. It's great to see you again, and under much, much happier circumstances than I think the last time you joined us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was one of our best performances of this season. Because I think, not only because we played well, everything come to fruition, but I think we were playing against the officials today as well.
Kind of always seems to be the case, doesn't it? I mean,
so many calls going against us today. I mean, it was remarkable.
That's part of being Arsenal, and I think it was very telling. Even the announcer, at least when I was watching, when Xhaka gets his yellow, that was pretty soft yellow. He even said, "Well, if you see Granit Xhaka, it's probably a yellow card." So I think everybody, it's not just us, even people who aren't strictly Arsenal fans, see what we see, and it's just kind of that mentality that a lot of times it feels like, at least, or not officiated the same way as maybe some other teams may be.
Yeah, I think that's about the nicest way I've ever heard it put. Always level and calm from Jared, but yeah, that it's constant. It's almost, you just know it's coming, and that's why it even brings me more joy to see this team kind of overcoming those things, not feeling victimized, and still coming out and being hungry. Drago, interrupt me if you have anything specific you want to cover that we're not talking about, but Ben White at right back, that was kind of the one main change today, forced because Tommy, I'm hearing he has COVID. I thought it was
all of our right backs have COVID, apparently.
I think we have 4 on the roster, and all 4 have COVID right now.
I mean, I heard Lauren even has COVID right now. We're really worried about it. No, but I mean, other than rankle the supporters of Norwich, did he do anything wrong in that position today? Can you?
I'm really impressed with White at right back today. I think he got forward, kept his positioning really well, one-on-one defending really well. Overall, I'm pleasantly surprised by Ben White this season. I have to say I was skeptical when he came in. Big money. I would have invested that in midfield in the summer and probably kept Saliba, or I don't know. But being pleasantly surprised by him. I think he has a mean streak in him as well. He doesn't lay down. He stood up to challenges. Really solid.
He seems like the type that like people are going to try to go after because they think he's got like a soft underbelly, but it turns out not so much.
No.
Yeah, we saw last week against Leeds, forehead to forehead with Rafinha, today with Paqueta. He's got a little bit of Xhaka in him, and I like somebody with a little bit of edge and a little bit of toughness. You can't have too many of those because we're never going to be able to keep a team on the pitch, but I kind of like that side because I think we need a bit of that.
Unlike Xhaka, it's not stupid edge, he knows when to cool it. And it's
not directed at his own fan base. It's directed at the opposition, which is always nice. So who's your boxer? Who's your Arsenal boxer?
I had a thought about it for a couple of minutes. I'm gonna go with Gabriel because I think he can take a punch or two. He's lost his tooth a couple of times and he kept going.
Yeah, he's he can either play hockey or be a boxer with the amount of tooth loss that he has.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Yeah, no, that's good. I hadn't really thought about him now, and he's just solid. Like you could jab him all day and he's not going to go down.
What a signing! Brilliant signing.
Last year Gabriel was either feast or famine. Like you always knew he was in the game because you were either saying, "Wow, look at that guy that we signed," or we were saying, "Whoa, he does not." After his COVID and the recovery, he was really just not himself. This season, I barely notice him. And again, if I'm not noticing somebody, it's usually because they're just playing solid 7.5. They're not doing anything special, but they're all I ever saw when I watched Arsenal games in recent years was Mustafi and Bellerin. Like they were just dominating my viewing pattern because it was just constant. No, like this whole, and I don't have that feeling with anybody now on this team. So it's great. Man of the match.
I think our back four deserve a lot of credit.
Mm-hmm.
I think our back four as a unit deserve a lot of credit.
I mean, maybe City, but is there a better back four right now? That as far as this partnership has come together so quickly, and it's so solid. You just don't see mistakes at the back. You see good teams taking advantage of us, a la Liverpool, but you don't see mistakes at the back right now. Mm-hmm. And that's been almost completely solved almost overnight with the summer signing.
Yeah, Arteta deserves a lot of credit. I mean, whatever you can say about Arteta, I had his doubts about him, but if you want to build a successful team, you build from the back. That's your foundations. You got to build the defense first. I believe in that. So he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, and it seems to now be kind of bleeding forward in the sense that the solid back is bleeding forward to the front. The midfield is still kind of the soft spot because we don't, but it's something to build off of. I think so. your man of the match. I'm thinking there's 4 or 5 that we forgot to get Fergus's. But there's about 4 or 5
Yeah,
I
I
think that you
think
could probably choose.
Odegaard would be an obvious one, but I'm gonna go with Martinelli. He didn't get an assist or a goal today, but he was crucial in the first 2 goals. He played a part in the first goal, and the second goal he was on the right, pressing, winning the ball, and from then on we got the second. He was relentless, absolutely relentless. He reminds me a lot of Alexis Sanchez,
Yeah.
but it seems that Arteta has tamed him. Fergus raised the question: was he justified in holding him back? I think he is, because when he came in, Arteta wasn't happy with his positioning, didn't know where to start, and I think he's been proven right.
He was like a raw, untamed Alexis, running around,
Exactly.
showing how much he wanted to affect the game, but not necessarily doing it in the most effective way. And now, I mean, that's a great point because now, I mean, you just saw his passion. You saw that. You just wanted it out there to impact the team, but it really wasn't particularly skillful in every or directed in the right locations. Now, I mean, I was struck. I went and looked at the time in the game because I wanted to make a remark about it. It was the 81st minute, right before he was subbed out. I mean, he was essentially playing left back and stopping a move. I mean, and you just love to see that. It's amazing, and it's directed. It's not cultured, but it's like curated into doing the exact right things at the right time and the right way. And so, if you want to act like that was just going to resolve itself without time on the training pitch, without time for the team to come together, go right ahead. But I mean, those things do happen in a year. So you're going Martinelli, man of the match. I don't think you could argue with that. Any other points that you want to try to make, Drago? How's life in Bulgaria these days? Good place to be?
A bit cold, not so much snowy, but cold.
All right. Political climate, all right? We're not in like Belarus or anything like that. It's a good.
Nah.
You know what? We don't need to get into that. Any other Arsenal-related points that you want to make about the game tonight, or just the overall situation?
Nah, let's have the other guys in the red room have their say. I know it's a queue.
There's a queue, and we're going to try to cover Europe first, since we know you guys want to get on with your evening. So, Drago, great to see you, my friend. Thank you for your contributions, and hope to see you either after. What do we got next? Wolves or City? City, there might not be an open mic podcast. City, I might just sleep through. But hope to see you soon, buddy.
Cheers, guys.
Take care,
Thanks,
mate.
Drago.
All right, Jared. Where do we want to go? Do we want to stay in Europe, or do we want to? Yes, let's go. Let's go to Daniel. Daniel had a wonderful Christmas, as I saw. Buddy, you're on now, Daniel. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys. How you doing?
Merry Christmas. Happy Boxing Day.
Yeah, happy Boxing Day.
Let's start off with the box. Let's start off with the boxer then, because we're naming our Arsenal player, not named Kolasinac, who would be your best pound for pound boxer on the team.
It's got to be Gabriel. He's our Tyson Fury of our defense, isn't he? He's absolutely outstanding. And yeah, I think for me it's Gabriel.
Okay, we got 2 Gabriels in a row.
I think he's going to be a popular choice today.
Yeah, although mine is different. It hasn't been mentioned yet, but
Mine too. So maybe you and I are on the same page.
I think we might be simpatico, but all right. So you've got your boxer. Third consecutive game this week that we've just looked fantastic, and
we did. We did. We looked really good. And what I'm liking now is we're adding the goals in. Before we were just getting by, winning 1-0, drawing 1-1, and struggling for goals. But we seem to be scraping by the goals as well. Yes, admittedly, Norwich were poor defensively, but you know what? We took our chances. And Saka's second goal was absolutely outstanding. And we're if Chelsea keep dropping points, we're going to be catching them up. And last I heard, they were losing 1-0 to Villa. So yeah,
I think they've leveled. They've leveled through a Jorginho penalty, but still, drop points would be drop points.
Yeah, so we're in a good position. I mean, we just need Tottenham to kind of stumble on their games in hand. But listen, we're where we are, and we deserve to be where we are. Whether we can hold on to that position. Listen, there's still a long way to go, but right now we are where we are because we deserve to be there, and I think that's credit to the way this team is playing. I've got a bit of a worry when it comes to January because we're going to lose a lot of key players, most notable Thomas Partey. I'm not too worried about Aubameyang, Pepe or El Neni going because let's be honest, all three of them have not been performing well this season. But losing Partey is a real worry for me. So it just depends on how we cope when those players are away. But I think we're in a good position. We're getting the wins. Obviously, we've got Wolves, then Man City. That's going to be a tough test against Man City. But life is good right now as a Gooner.
It sure is. One of the things that I think not enough people are talking about is the fixture list while AFCON is going on. Now, am I correct? AFCON's a month. It's about January 9th to February 9th.
I think a month, 5 weeks, something like that. I'm not 100% sure either.
And you get a player back who's in the latter stages of AFCON. You're not gonna, he's not gonna be ready to go maybe right away. But as far as the Premier League goes, other than January 1st, which is before AFCON, you've got the Derby on the 16th. You've got Burnley on the 22nd, and that's it.
Well, and it's also
the following game is February 10th, again, which was actually moved from the 8th to the 10th, against Wolves, which is presumably after AFCON. And if you got players who didn't make it to the very end, you should have them back by now. So there's really only, one of them very important in the Derby, but there's against the Spurs team that's losing nobody to AFCON. But honestly, how far down can we fall during this situation? And people talk about signing substitutes for Thomas Partey. I think you could sneak by. It would be nice if we had squad depth to where we could bring, someone of the ilk of Basuma off when Partey comes on. But, it's not like we have 5 games where we're going to, drop 5 league positions because of it.
Not at all.
And we got don't forget,
we got the AFCON on us is going to be much different than we thought it was going to be coming into the season. People looked at Nicolas Pepe being a player, Aubameyang being the captain, and then losing Thomas Partey. Now those first two are kind of become an afterthought.
Yeah, well, we've got 3 cup games, and I was just thinking in terms of and those are important, but we might not have started Partey in those cup games. We might not have 2 of those 3 cup games. We're going to be playing against a team that, if they wanted to start 2 of their 3 best players, they wouldn't be able to because of the AFCON in Liverpool. So I'm not so worried about AFCON. Let's enjoy the tournament. To me, it's not because of the position that we've placed ourselves in right now, where points are in the bag instead of games in hand, and where we're not lagging along in 8th place, hoping that we can make a run. We've made our run now, and long may it continue. But we put ourselves in a better position to handle obstacles that are in the way, like AFCON. So.
Yeah. I think we have to be careful because a few bad results and we could drop down the table. We're so close together right now, and I think what's going to be crucial for us is if Spurs drop points in their game in hands. And I looked at their game in hands, and they're all away from home. Their game in hands. I think they might have 1 at home. But
yeah, they're Burnley away, Brighton away. There's 1 home matchup. I think.
So, and you know what? If even if they draw one of those games, it's good for us because while they're catching up, we could be racing ahead. Look, this game against Man City I'm not too worried about the Wolves game, and I know this is a dangerous thing to do, is look past the next game. But I think we'll beat Wolves. But wouldn't it be great to get a result, a big result at home at the Emirates against a Man City team? I think if we can do that, you know, while luck's on our side, and we have got luck on our side, we've got the players. If we can do that, then I think we can get through January. You know, that game against Spurs at their place, and then the two games in the Carabao Cup semi-final. You know, we're having a really good season. I know we had that blip in November, and it was a very big blip, but we're having a relatively good season. You know, the semi-finals of the Cup. We're just starting our FA Cup journey as well in January. You know, we're in 4th place right now. I think if you'd asked most Arsenal fans at the start of the season, where would we be in December or just after Christmas, I think a lot of Arsenal fans would put us a lot lower down the table, probably out of the Carabao Cup, and probably in a little bit of a mess, because the
David,
way
we actually did ask most Arsenal fans that. Between Jared and I, we asked about 7.5 million Arsenal fans. We went door to door in every country, and we said, where do you think that will be after Boxing Day? Last year, I mean, just think about this. And now, I'm going to get serious. Today, 1 year ago today, we shockingly, out of nowhere, pulled a victory against Chelsea out of our ass to get us from 15th place to 14th, I think, or 13th or something. And now, look, 1 year later, we're scoring 5 goals against Norwich. We're beating Leeds. Again, these are not Invincible's accomplishments. I understand that, but I feel pretty good about our chances of taking something out of the game on January 1st, honestly.
And I think as well, I know a lot of people overlook this, but I think the January transfer window for us is going to be key, because we have to build on what we did in the summer. We might not have the influx of players that we had in the summer, and I do think we will do business in this window. I get the feeling from the club that they are planning to do business, to build on the progress that we've made, because I get the feeling as well, and from people I talk to in and around the club, I get the feeling that they weren't expecting us to be where we are at this stage of the season, and to have the success that we've had. They expected that it would take more time. So I think they will want to build on this, and we have a real chance to really make a claim this season with the results that we've had. So yeah, going into January, we've got, this window is key. If we can get the right additions and get a few more players in, maybe sort out the 6-month contractors, maybe sort them out, and then make a few additions, get a couple of players out that necessarily. I do think Aubameyang will leave. I think
January or the summer.
Do you know what? I think he'll leave in January. I don't think, and I'm going to say this now, and I'm probably going to stick my head on the block, but I'm used to doing that. What the hell? I actually think that Aubameyang has played his last game for Arsenal. I genuinely believe that. I think the way that it's all fallen apart between the club and him, and I think he's played his last game for Arsenal, and we saw it last season with Ozil, and we're seeing it with Aubameyang. And any problem that's within the dressing room, Arteta's quick to stamp it out, and I don't think there's any way back for Aubameyang. I really don't. I think if we can get him out the door and get somebody else in, and the club are already actively looking for another striker, so that tells you all you need to know. The problem is Lacazette. If we let Aubameyang go, what do we do with Lacazette? Because they're not going to sign 2 strikers. If they do, I'll be very, very surprised. So I can see us keeping hold of Lacazette and just replacing Aubameyang. I think this Aubameyang situation has taken the club by surprise, and I think it's made them rethink their strategy in replacing a striker, because it was always going to be Lacazette that they replace. But now Aubameyang's obviously thrown his toys out the pram and kicked off a little bit. I think they've having to rethink that.
I mean, I would give him away at this point. I used to say 15 million. Now I would just give him away to get the wages off the bill.
Yeah,
at this point,
I agree.
We've proven, not over a tremendously long period of time, but I think we've proven that our goals are actually going to come from elsewhere.
And the problem is, Mike, as well, is that Aubameyang's causing problems in the dressing room. And, you know, we've got that feel-good factor in and around the dressing room. You can see that on the pitch with performances, the players all working together. And isn't it funny how Aubameyang's come out the side and our front line looks a lot better because everybody's working together. Saka, Martinelli on that side, there's more of a balance going forward. Lacazette up top is holding the ball up, giving the time and space for the younger players like Martinelli and Saka to run in off him and get the goals with the energy and flair that they have. So, yeah, I think Aubameyang being out the side is a good thing right now.
Yeah, and it's the classic addition by subtraction. We saw it with Ozil, and I think we're seeing it again with Aubameyang. Whether they can actually get him off the books or not is the question. Daniel, we're gonna pivot to the next person in line, and but we need to get your man of the match before we do. You get your boxer was Gabriel, your man of the match today.
I've got to give it to Saka. Mike. You know, absolutely outstanding. And I know a lot of people giving it to, you know, a lot of people said Martinelli. But yeah, you got to give it to Saka. I thought he was outstanding today.
Wonderful. All right. Well, Saka, I mean, 2 goals and a masterful performance. Hard not to look his way. So thank you, Daniel, for joining us. Always welcome back. Talk to you soon, and best happy New Year to yourself and your lovely wife.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on as always. And yeah, take care, guys. Take care, everybody in the chat as well.
Alrighty, up the Arsenal, Daniel. I don't normally say that. It's weird. I'm more of a come on you Gooners type of person. So
mix it up every now and again.
Yeah, you gotta do that. So our men of the match so far, we've got Martinelli, Saka, and Odegaard. I think have been the 3 mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you know, that's a lovely game when you have such a variance of that. I absolutely love it. So let's talk about this with our next open micer, who will be Alonso. I saw this tweet today from some numpty on Twitter who says, if you don't care about big matchups and the fan experience from a purely game theory standpoint, Arsenal should be going strong against Norwich and Wolves, then resting everyone against City. Lock up 6 points from those 3 games, get some rest, and prepare for Cups/Premier League second half. Now, I don't know who this numpty was that said this, but I kind of agree with him actually a little bit. Alonso, the numpty was Jared, and it's an interesting tweet because it's very well stated that he is not necessarily saying he's in favor of that. He's just saying, like, if you really want to maximize Premier League points, maybe you give a mulligan to or a free hit to the City game. What do you think about that, Alonso? I mean, it'd be nice to get 9 points out of those 3 games, but a lot of people are talking about rotation on Tuesday because it's a game that's so closely behind this one, so that we have a fresh squad for New Year's Day. Would you do it the other way around?
I rotate, Mike, to be honest, because like right now I have a good thing going, right? But Wolves are always a tough test for us. Now whether or not our younger players who don't get a lot of time in can benefit from playing against Wolves. It's kind of a testy game. I think that I think this is why, in my opinion, it was important to play Rob Holding, because he doesn't get that much playing time, and I think that he could use that against weaker side. So I think you start him against Wolves, and maybe sit White, maybe. But besides that, I think that rotation is important especially during holidays and the festive period.
Yeah. So Jared, I mean, he's telling you. No. Which game do you rotate though, Wolves or City?
Wolves.
Okay, so he's telling you you're a numpty then, Jared.
Yeah,
Would
and
you like to defend yourself? Because
when I
Arnie
put the tweet out, I had a
from
feeling.
Iceland is also, I 100% understood the nature of your tweet, and I'm just not going to let you get away. I'm gonna give you a hard time for it, despite the fact that I understand it. So
I'm here for it. And what I expected when I put the tweet out is that it would get a lot of pushback, especially like we just saw the comment, we don't want to lose 11-0 to City. I'm somebody who's more than willing to sacrifice the now for greater results in the end. And at the end of the season, if you're looking at this strictly from how many points do we need to get fourth, I don't think it makes as much sense to play your strong players, especially in a congested fixture kind of setup against Man City. Now, like everybody else, I'm a fan.
When cups are important, when these League Cup semifinals are important, when the FA Cup is important, it's not, those aren't an afterthought. They shouldn't be.
Very much so. Yeah, we're still in contention for a couple of trophies there. And kind of my overarching point was, if we just played, if it was me and I was running Arsenal for a day on January 1st, you would see the 4 players going to AFCON and a bunch of squad players and youngsters playing with them against City. And I would kind of just concede that we're not going to score or do much in that game, most likely, because coming away from City with 0 points, you're not losing any points to the field because no one else is taking points off that game either. And what I really want to avoid is, I don't want to see us go play a very good game against Manchester City. We lose 3-2 on a late goal, and everybody says it's a great performance, but our players are tired. You pick up an injury to a player like Tierney or Thomas Partey, who sounds like he may be available for that game. And then you're without those guys for those important upcoming cup games. And I think Aston mentioned it in the chat, and I'm sure we'll talk about it more when he comes on here in a few minutes. That Spurs game on the 16th is looking like it's going to be one of the more important games of the year. That's going to be a big swing, and they're right below us in the table with games in hand, so it's going to be a big one. So I just think the risk doesn't outweigh the benefit of just letting everybody sit, let City take their 3 points off us there, and go attack, take 3 off of Wolves, take 3 off of Spurs, and keep good momentum in the Premier League around that game.
So when you followed up your tweet by saying not advocating that they do this, sounds like you're advocating that they do this.
Well,
a little bit.
I guess if I was running the team, we would, because I would approach it more from a strictly numbers point and
you
total
would know,
points for the season.
Yeah, and you would know there could be a lot of backlash for it, but like,
yeah, we're not gonna. I don't expect to see it, nor do I think someone like Arteta would do it, because I think they want to keep that mentality of we're in it to win every single game, which you can't fault that. I love that attitude. But if you were going to look at it as our only goal is to finish top 4 and have our best possible outcome in the League Cups, the optimal strategy would be to take advantage of that situation to rest players when they're congested and get the points in the other games.
Chelsea's
and I'm prepared to die on this hill.
Well, no, I'm shaking my head because Chelsea has scored. I'm not shaking my head at what you just said. So, Alonso, enough talking by us. We have 3 things we need to know from you. One is your man of the match. One is your Arsenal boxer on Boxing Day. And the third is whatever you want to add from your own point of view on the game today or anything else.
Right. So my man of the match today is Bukayo Saka. I thought this guy was pretty amazing today. I thought that the guy was very confident in taking those goals. And the way he bends the ball is pretty awesome. And I think that, our young Gunners are far ahead of schedule from where they're at last year. And, there's a confident group of guys like Odegaard and Memphis Rowe, Martinelli, all well today, and as well as Tierney. But my man in the match. And my boxer would be Lacazette. I think that the guy is the best captain, is now our captain short term. So, I think that he fights for our team. Jacques as well and Gabriel. But if I had a guy who would be my boxer on Boxing Day, it would be Lacazette. I think that he fights, but he fights with pride. I think he fights for the club as much as anyone else. And he has a kind of he doesn't get himself into trouble too much. So I think Lacazette's my boxer.
And he can box really well with his back to the other fighter.
Yeah,
like he's got that skill. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, and so, but all in all, it was a good day today. I thought that Rob Holding, he did all right. I think as Tommy also was hurt, I think Ben White did a good cover at right back, and I think that as long as we have our team buzzing right now, I think we could have a chance against Manchester City, where the game in August when Xhaka got sent off, I think that we didn't have a good players out with COVID and injury, but I think we have a team now that could surprise some people against Manchester City. So yeah, I think Wolves and City are a tough test, obviously, but I think that right now we have nowhere to go but up.
Well, I always say about Arsenal, like when you start really thinking we've turned the corner,
Yeah, and it was down.
we pull an Everton. When you think everything is absolutely diabolical, we pull a Chelsea last Boxing Day. But I told my son at the beginning of the game today, I'm like, normally I will pick a 2-2, just even when I'm feeling confident, because I just don't want to I just don't want to speak it into the truth that we're going to win. And by the way, speaking of 2-2, I believe we have to say rest in peace to actual Bishop Desmond Tutu, passed away yesterday. So that's a strange that's a strange transition. But today I was like, you know what, I'm picking us to win. I said I'm picking us to win 5-0 because I just don't think that there's any chance that we show up with one of those performances today. And before I even got the words out of my mouth, we had scored our first goal. So, yeah, I mean, we're in a fantastic run of form. What is it? 6 wins in a row in all competitions?
Yeah, and I think 18 or 19 goals in our last 5 games with no Aubameyang. The boys are flying.
3, 2, 4, 5, 5. 2 of them are one of them was a League Cup game. But yeah, I mean, good times, man. So, anything else you want to share, Alonso?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just pretty happy about where we're at the moment. I think that you guys were talking about earlier about how Arteta was right or wrong by holding back Martinelli, but I think it was right. I mean, you talk about a guy Martinelli who was kind of fragile whenever he started getting injuries and all that, and I remember 2 years ago he was on his way. He got hurt again, and it's like, oh no, here we go. Another young gunner who's injury prone. But I think he started coming to his own this year, and I think everyone was hyped up about him because he's Brazilian and he has this kind of swagger that I think the whole team has now with Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe and Odegaard and it's rubbed off on Lacazette a little bit. So I think we finally have a team that I think remember we have Van Persie and Fabregas and Wilcott and all these youngsters, Wilshere were their young gunners back then. I think they're better. I think this group of here is better than those guys back in the early 2001s or early 2010s.
Not only are they better, but the team's in a much better mindset, I think, to have these players see a future here. If I was Fabregas and Van Persie coming up and seeing, or any other talented young player watching the club constantly give away, or sell their best players, I would say, you know what, this is kind of a building block for me, not where I want to be and where I want to win titles. I would think of someplace else as being that place. Whereas now I think these young guns are coming through. They see the opportunity, they see the future, and they, if you asked any of them right now, they would say, I envision myself being here 8 years from now. Who knows? But I want that to be the case. And, if someone sees themselves at Arsenal 8 years from now, it isn't because they're comfortable finishing 6th place every single year.
Right.
And they, unlike the people who left because we weren't in Champions League, because of them, I think these people will drive us there and say it's our responsibility to get there. If we don't get there, it's because we didn't play well enough. So, I mean, I couldn't be happier, Alonso. It sounds like you're in a similar boat.
Yeah, I mean, being a gunner for I think 11 years now, I didn't see the good old times. When we had Perez and Bergkamp, Henry and Campbell and all those. I didn't see that. So this is kind of new to me because we've always finished 4th in the league and 2nd, 3rd, whatever. So I didn't see those times. So this is pretty cool seeing players, our own players, come from the academy and or young players who got because other clubs gave up on them, or other players were bought because they saw something in them in it for the future. So this is all fresh and new. This is pretty exciting stuff right here, you know.
Well, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and I'm glad that you are as well, bud. So hopefully we'll be talking over future open mics in 2022 and continuing to solidify our place in Europe. So
yeah. All right, guys. Well, good chatting you guys, and you guys have a new year and have a good Boxing Day and rest of the day today, and see you guys soon.
You too, and you know what? Have a very good December 27th as well. People don't talk about December 27th enough. I want you to have a great one, mate. All right?
Thanks. Take it easy.
All right, bud. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Next, we move on to Texas. We have Dean, huge fan of Mike Hers. Not so sure how he feels about us, but Mikey's not here today. I'm sorry, man.
You know, I know that, and I'll try to get through this the best I can without seeing Hers here. But you know,
stuck with the B team.
You guys are up. No. You guys are up there too. I got love for everyone.
Nice, Dean. You know, it's just that environment when Arsenal have won like 94 straight games that we have going on right now. So, before, not that we're doing this anytime soon, but before we let you go, we got to get your boxer and your man of the match. But I mean, do you have anything specific from today's game, or just from the trends that we're seeing from Arsenal lately, or you want to talk about how shit the refereeing was?
No, you know, like everyone has been saying, and like I've even been seeing a lot on Twitter, this is the most optimistic, you know, Arsenal fans have been in a long time. I've seen a lot of people go back to when Welbeck scored against Leicester, when we thought we were going to win the league. I mean, it's been a long time.
If you've ever seen Goodfellas, have you seen Goodfellas?
Yeah.
That Leicester game was Joe Pesci getting ready to walk into the thing where he thought he was becoming a made man.
Exactly.
That you know.
Oh, absolutely.
And then the following 2 months was I mean, that was like I mean honestly, I was in New York that day, and the game was like a 7:45 game, and my wife had the like fever, and so I didn't go to O'Hanlon's to watch the game. I stayed at home, and when we won, I was like, honey, we're getting in a cab. We're going down to O'Hanlon's for like the after party. And I dragged her like 101 fever ass. Of course she had champagne and, but yeah, I was like that. Everything was in place at that point.
Yeah. And then it wasn't.
Yeah. And then it wasn't.
And then it was like Joe Pesci at the end of Casino when they're baseball batting him out in the desert.
Exactly. So, you know, it just
so Arsenal amuse you? They make you laugh, kind of like a clown, like a circus clown.
Now, you know, not laugh, but it's been a lot of smiles lately, right? So, you know, everybody's kind of been mentioning it since Aubameyang got stripped of his captaincy. It's been 5 straight wins. Jared mentioned it a little bit ago, 19 goals and 2 against in that time. So, you know, it's. They took a bad situation coming off of 2 losses and coming off of, you know, your captain kind of shitting the bed and losing it again. And they've just turned it around and totally gelled together and became a team, which is amazing to see, especially with the group of young kids that we have. As far as I'll get to my boxer. So my first one was going to be Xhaka, which got taken. My second one was going to be Gabrielle.
You can do repeats.
No, I'm going to go a little curveball, and I think this might be where you guys are going. I'm going to go Tierney because he said pound for pound. And pound for pound, I think Tierney would be a bulldog in the ring. So he's going to be mine.
Yeah.
He's got some toughness, that's for sure.
There's no reason to hold this back. That's absolutely mine. Jared, was that yours?
It actually is not.
If it's not, okay, all right, then don't say it.
But
we
know it's Patino. What's that?
I'm thinking Jared is Patino.
Probably. And, you know, it was good to see the fans, the away fans cheering him again and singing his song, trying to get him on the pitch, which would have been good. But, you know, we're probably going to need him here in the next couple of weeks and then some of these cup games. Man of the match for me is going to be another little bit of a curveball. I'm going to go Ben White. He was someone who I was really, really cautious about coming in with the price tag. He had a rough couple months in my eyes starting out. He settled in nicely in center back, and he did great today covering right back, where we apparently all of our right backs hang out together because they all got COVID. So good to see the camaraderie with that position group, I guess. But
they had a big right back sneezing party where they all just sat in a circle
right?
and sneezed on each other and
So, but no,
licked each other's fingers.
Absolutely, he did great going forward. He did great coming back. Yeah, no.
Jared, I love when he shakes his head like disapprovingly.
It's like it was there, and then
but he's
no matter-
smiling.
even
though,
when it's a good joke, then you have to turn the corner and just take it too far every single time.
I don't know where to stop. I don't.
But no, yeah. So, Ben White was great today. He had that one little pass that he misplaced where if Pookie wasn't, a kind of a slower version of Giroud, he might have got across goal and had a chance for him. But, he was not on today and had him in his pocket all day.
Dean, when you were like 21, 22 years old, did you ever envision yourself like growing up being a man and then saying a sentence like, yeah, when Pookie was a slower version of Giroud, like
absolutely not.
That doesn't even make any sense to someone who doesn't like follow football as religiously.
And I didn't start following football, the world football, until probably about 6-7 years ago. So, yeah, when I was 21, I had absolutely no clue who any of these guys were. I knew Henry, and that was about it, which is why I'm here as an Arsenal fan. But the team as a whole, it's looking good. There was a little bit, I don't know if anybody's touched on this yet. Within the last hour, DiMarzio and Fabrizio Romano are tweeting that Roma are in advanced talks for a loan with Maitland-Niles, an option to buy, which is really interesting to me, especially since we're about to lose Partey and El Neni to AFCON. So
I do that like on the last day of January, not on the first few days.
Even then, you would think that they might have to bring somebody in, or maybe not in January, but I mean, obviously we're going to have to do it this summer. That and a striker, I think, are the two positions that we're going to be looking at. I kind of agree with, I think it was Daniel who said that Aubameyang might have played his last game for Arsenal. I think he might be out in January. I think personally, Lacazette's going to run out his contract. Aubameyang's going to be gone. I wouldn't be surprised if we move on from Pepe and Saliba this summer, and kind of, if that happens, that's going to be all of our French and French-speaking players kind of together out of the team, and we're kind of going to be moving into a different direction as a whole. For me, I think it'd be tough to bring in Saliba back into this team without a good, kind of French-speaking senior player for him to kind of lean on and things like that. So we'll see where that goes. But, I think I speak for, Kyle, what everybody else has been saying is, let's keep the good times rolling, and hopefully we can get top four. I think it was Jared too. I saw a tweet out earlier that we're on 35 points at the midway, which has been good enough for fourth place pretty much every Premier League campaign ever. So we just keep this pace, we should be good to go.
And as far as our big three games, let's call them the big three games, we'll have City completely out of the way by the first. Mm-hmm. We've played one against Liverpool at their place. We'll have the home game remaining in addition to the cups. And then Chelsea, we played at their place, or we played them at home in that second game of the season. I think that was at home.
We played them at home, I believe. I think
we got to. Yeah. And Chelsea are kind of a strange club. I mean, they're beating Villa now, but only barely. And I mean, they're the one out of the three teams that I think we could take a point off of, or even 3 points off of. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know what to do with the optimism, because we actually have not accomplished anything yet.
Yeah,
and the cautious people, the Arteta folks that are generally not yet convinced, which is the nicest way of saying it, will be like, slow your roll. We haven't actually accomplished anything yet. And I agree with that, because, our second half of the season last year, which people mocked about the second half. See, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but the second half of the season last year, that table that they showed from Boxing Day on, where we were either second or third in the league, people shat on that table and said it means nothing because we still finished 8th. We had no silverware and so on and so forth. And I'm like, it doesn't mean anything as far as honors, but it means we're improving.
Well,
And I said, if it was the reverse, if we had started the season and Boxing Day been second or third in the league, and then tailed off and been 15th for the rest of the season and ended 8th, I said people would have been happy at that point where we were second and third. Then they would have mourned a collapse, and they would have said, you know what, this is untenable. We got to get rid of the team. So how can you not look at that now after a 3-game blip in for various reasons in late August, and say that form in the second half of 2020-21 season has not just simply continued in the 2020-21-22 season.
And the thing is, it absolutely has. Now, if you go back and look from Boxing Day last year to Boxing Day this year, there's only one team in the Premier League that has more points than Arsenal, and it's Manchester City. Yep. Right now, we're tied second with Chelsea, and that's a full calendar year. So really kind of the only thing we haven't done is carry it over the year we want, which is the league season.
Right.
But going back a full calendar year, we're second on the in the table in points, one ahead of Liverpool and on par with Chelsea. And I'll bring up too, because you mentioned the 3-game blip to start this season. Dean, earlier I saw he put up on Twitter, and I'll just read it out. It says, taking out the horrendous August start, Arsenal are 11-2-3 with a plus 17 goal difference this season. So it really was more of a blip than the team, being subpar. They had a bad 3-game stretch, and outside of that, for a full calendar year, they've been very effective and playing well. So I don't see any reason to say that it's not possible for us to continue it another 5-6 months.
Oh, I don't think so. The way we're doing it is incredibly sustainable too, because we're showing that. I mean, we're doing it in light of losing players like Aubameyang, who we thought that we were attached to. I mean, personally, I'll take that one step further. If we remove the games against Everton, Man United, Brentford, Chelsea, Man City, and then all the games we lost last year, if we remove those, we are the best football team of all time.
And to be fair, out of that group, Brentford was kind of rough because his first game of the year, we had COVID issues, which apparently we're the only ones that don't get a pass for that. Chelsea and City, no one, really expected too much from that. Taking out, United again, who's another really good team who, we got up on, should have probably beat them. I can't get rid of this, these dots of the sun, but it's really just been the Everton game, right? The Everton game has been the only one that we just played really bad, right? We played down to our competition. It was kind of the shades of the Arsenal of the last couple of years, to where, it's a game that we should win, but you're kind of nervous because we're not putting them away. And then they come back and take the game and take the 3 points from us, where they've been horrendous against everybody else. So here's what I'm
laughing at, because I've just put myself in that devil's advocate role of being like a critical Arsenal fan watching this podcast, and I would be tearing into us right now for just like conveniently framing everything in the way that makes Arsenal look right. And I'm not going to apologize for that. That's what makes me feel better. And anyone that comes on this podcast on GoonerOpenMic.com is welcome to share their opinion. We don't need an echo chamber in here. We just all tend, and we'll hear some stuff from Aston in a few minutes, because I can see you shaking your head at me lovingly in there. And I know that there are some areas that we disagree on, not the positivity or negativity of the team, but on some players, specifically Aubameyang. But yeah, I mean, we could be carved apart for really conveniently talking about all the stuff.
True.
After removing all the stuff that wasn't good, but it doesn't mean it's not a valid opinion, and it's not nice to hear. And look, Arsenal are in the process of trying to remove those things. They're trying to remove the Everton and the Man City game and the Brentford game. They're trying to remove that by learning from their mistakes, and there's evidence that that's happening.
No, absolutely. But it's kind of hard to not kind of see, like you said, those first 3 games as a blip, and then that, United and Everton back to back is a blip, because after that, what else has there been? It's been, pretty solid, good performance from a young team that, it's hard to not be optimistic about a team that's so young, playing so well with a young manager. I've been one who's been a little bit more cautious with my approach of Arteta and the team, saying we're obviously young. He's a new manager. Give him time. Give him at least a couple years, 2-3 years. And it's hard for people to say that, but just having been an American sports fan too, and seeing the turnover of coach after coach, manager after manager, it doesn't do anything for your team. You just are constantly in turmoil, constantly in change. You need, 2, 3, 4 years to get some ideas going and to get your culture and the players you want. So to see them kind of stay the course with Arteta, even though it's still only been about 2 years, but to go youth and I guess the big thing is the summer signings, right? The summer window could go down as maybe one of the best ever for Arsenal. Definitely it's going to be hard to kind of, see in the future 2-3 years where we are, but right now it's looking pretty good with a rather small sample size of, the first half of the season, but there's not a lot to be grumpy about right now. As Jared said earlier, if you're looking for some negatives, you're really kind of searching, even though they're always there. If you're overly negative, you're just a negative person at that point. So we'll see where it progresses. We'll see kind of how some of these players, Aubameyang and other players like that. Pepe, I think, is going to be an interesting one, where they're at here within the next 6 months or so, and who we can bring in to see if we can take that next step and hopefully be in the Champions League, here in the next couple of years, next year, hopefully at the very least Europe next year. And then here in the next 2-3 years, maybe challenging for Premier League titles with the top 4 or 5 teams.
Well, guess where we will not be picking up 3 points on Tuesday?
It's not.
No, and it ain't because we're going to lose. So, Dean, we got your boxer on your man of the match, because we have some breaking news, and Colin actually broke it in the private chat. So I'm going to bring him on real quick to break it for us all. But Dean, are we good?
I'm good. Thank you, guys.
All right, mate,
happy holidays. Merry Christmas to y'all. And hopefully I'll be back. It's been a while, so I was going to joke that I'm kind of like a Aubameyang. I just kind of show up in the good times, and then
you can be late. But you can be late to this podcast and still get on. That's the one thing we haven't cracked the whip that much on it. So.
I appreciate that. Hers, I know, is probably cracking the whip on me in that podcast. So
he is.
We'll see.
He definitely is. All right, love you, man.
Take
care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dean. We'll see you.
All right, we're gonna bring on the final 2 guests together. Actually.
Perfect.
All right, guys.
Kind of big news dropping right now.
So Tuesday morning. I don't got to get up early. Is that what you're telling me now?
Looks like it.
Yeah, I was a little distracted because I was trying to find your source. Aston and Colin both actually ended up breaking this, but Arsenal and Wolves have been postponed. Disappointed, happy, relieved. What are we?
I'm super disappointed. Listen. We just played. What was this? 3-0 to Southampton, 2-0 to West Ham, 4-1 to Leeds, 5-1 to Sunderland. First goal scored at the Emirates since October, by the way, and then 5-0 today. Yeah, we were going to cream them, and apparently we're the only team where if we have COVID, it's okay for our game to go on and for the other team to roll us over. I thought that was the whole point of having a squad in the first place. But of course, when it's other teams, of course they can. We'll call the game off for them.
How many Arsenal players against Brentford had COVID? I know Gabriel did. I know some of our best players did.
It was 4. It was 4. It was Gabriel, Lacazette, Aubameyang, and Jacques. Wasn't it?
It was Runerson.
Runerson, yeah.
Okay, so 3.
And he counts as 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of look at that and I'm like, A, it was a little different. B, it was 3 or 4 players. Right now, they're some of these teams have like 7, 8 players with COVID. But I do think it's kind of ridiculous that they not be made to play. I mean, you have 24 players and U23s. Like lockdown. Some teams are having bigger problems than other teams. Is it? I mean, there's a responsibility on the teams to do that. So I do not agree with the games being postponed individually. Either lock up the entire league and like the NHL is doing here and have a pause in the season, which sucks, but at least it's an attempt at preserving both the fans' experience and the integrity of the game.
Yeah, the competitive fairness is the issue. And looking at the Athletic article that Colin was referencing that broke this, one of the early parts of the article says the Wolves currently have a number of players sidelined with injury and names off like 5 of them. We don't
injury. That shouldn't have a damn thing.
You have to deal with it. Like COVID's a different thing if your whole team gets it, but if you have guys get hurt, that's everybody, and everybody else deals with it and gets squad players and subs and moves on. I don't accept injuries as a reason to postpone a fixture like this.
Now you could say that like our Leeds, who we should beat anyway, were ravaged by COVID and injuries, and we got an easy 3 points against them. Same today against Norwich. So, I mean, are we benefiting from this by being able to play our games and bag these, or are we not benefiting from? We're benefiting from it, but other teams are benefiting from. I mean, would you rather have league congestion, or would you rather be, Tottenham and be playing? Well, I guess another team playing those games with a short, because they're going to have fixture congestion early in next year. But they're presumably, theoretically, going to have all their best players on the pitch who wouldn't have been had they had to play their games, and that's what's irking me is that, this is just like anything else. It's just like injuries. It's like food poisoning. If your best 8 of your best 11 players aren't fit to play, but the league is still in session, you should have to play the next best 8.
Yeah, last time I checked, Ben White was playing right back today, so I don't want to hear shit about people in COVID. Like, I'm sorry. That's the whole reason why you have a squad. You name at least 25 players. Like, you're a Premier League team that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Figure it the fuck out. Like, the competitiveness is a joke. And like I was saying before, this doesn't reflect so much. Like, I'm not mad at Wolves. I'm mad at the Premier League because this is the same corrupt FA that's had we can't introduce VAR and we expected them to have COVID on the lock. Of course they don't. Of course they're just winging it, and they're showing it again. We need real leadership up there.
Yeah, and they'll do whatever they can for Spurs and United to avoid fixture congestion that is anti-competitive for them. They'll figure out a way of. I mean, the games will be played in June. I said earlier. I forget whether it was here or on ABW, but I'm like, they'll play games into June, or they'll play. They'll move games from where they were so that they aren't any 48-hour turnarounds. They'll move a Sunday game to Monday just so that they can play a makeup game on Thursday and not have to play Thursday, Sunday. I mean, you just watch. That's what's going to happen. They should be made to play at the earliest possible opportunity with at least 44 hours wait, because our game against Wolves was going to be 44 hours or something like that, 46 hours from kickoff to kickoff. So that should be the minimum, 46 hours. As long as you plug in a game there. If you got a game on Sunday and Thursday already, then you should have to play on Tuesday in between to make those games up as soon as possible, not in April, once you've been knocked out of Europe and it's convenient now to start playing midweek.
It's sad that we're like, I don't really want to rain on the parade though, because it's like, as shitty as this is and as unfortunate as this is, we've been playing fantastic and we've been having the real joy out of the club. I want to read you something real quick. This is a quote from earlier this year. I think in the future, when everything comes to normality and we're able to work the way that's needed to work with some stability, I think the project is going to go bang. This is where we are, but sometimes it's difficult to see those moments now. I am sure of what we're doing.
Was that Lee Gunner?
Absolutely right. No,
or was it Arteta?
Yeah, exactly. It's Arteta. It's in a little bit of a Wenger-esque, like challenging the Invincibles kind of way. He's named for a long time. He goes, "Oh no, I don't think you understand." And a lot of us have seen those mitigating circumstances. A lot of us still aren't completely convinced. I still don't think that this team is quite where it needs to be. Especially you and I know where my issues lie. If contrary to what you think, I think Partey is one of the biggest losses that we can have at this moment because his level. Him and Xhaka's levels are so far above our other center mids, which isn't a good thing, by the way. I don't think they've been amazing, but they're so far above our other midfielders that just a loss to one of them and Xhaka turns back into Xhaka and we're at a loss.
Let me just say that it wasn't about Partey. It was about we don't actually have that many league games. It wasn't I don't mind losing him. It's that it's not like 5 games that we're losing him. It's 2 league games.
Fair point. But the question back to you guys is, Arteta said this a year ago. Have we finally gone bang?
I hate answering that question because the second I answer it, we're going to go poof.
Yeah,
or whatever the
game's Man City.
Colin, you answered that first. Have we turned the corner? And well, okay. Before that, Aston, what is going bang? What's your definition of going bang?
Well, I think that going bang is a return to at least, let's say, the Arsenal of before, where we have for a minute now, and this is something I want to be clear about. No. This is something I think most fans can understand. Arsenal is a classy club. We have class above most other clubs in England. I would say above all of them, right? But we have failed to show our class for years. For years, we've been playing bottom teams and just scraping by with wins. We have been showing our class, and that's what I would call going bang. Are we back to being one of the major teams in Europe? Are we back to being a team to be feared, to be looked out for, a team that might actually have a shot at being one of these top 4 stable England sides? Because we haven't been.
No, and Colin, I would say are we back to that, or are we still kind of, despite our stature, are we still kind of the scrappy underdogs who are punching above our weight right now?
That's the question.
Yeah, I don't think we're punching above our weight by any means. I think that really the one piece of maybe data that you can point to if you're trying to argue against that we've gone bang is our performances this season against the sides above us in the table. That's really been the only downside to this entire season if you look at it at a pretty macro level thus far. But we're 4th in the table. The metrics all say that we deserve to be 4th in the table, which is something that as an Arsenal fan base we've always
there's none of this XG like we're performing.
Yeah, we've always been very wary of. I'm even thinking back to the giant Unai Emery unbeaten run, where there was a lot of the fan base that was going like, these metrics don't actually look very good. Like we could have lost a lot of these games that we haven't so far, and that's not what we're seeing this season. The games that we win, we deserve to win, which is really nice to say. We are giving convincing performances on a consistent basis, which is something that we've not been able to say. So, the main reason why I'm bummed about the Wolves game getting postponed is just because I was excited to see what Arteta had planned. I was really interested to see how much he would rotate. Lacazette played the full 90 minutes, so I think that he may have had another idea for the Wolves game. I think he would have yanked Laka at the hour mark if he had wanted to start him against Wolves. So I think he maybe had other plans for our striker position. Would be interesting to see if Nketiah could get a spot to start or Pepe. He has played Smith Rowe as a false 9 before. And I'm looking at the way Lacazette plays his game now and the way that our formation is and, our system moving forward. And maybe there's something that I'm not seeing, but I absolutely could see Smith Rowe slotting into that false 9 position that Laka's been playing. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that at some point this season, just given the fact that Arteta did try it in, I think it was it the Europa League semifinal against Villarreal, second leg.
But the
Is
last
that
time I
one-
saw Aston, let's not talk about
So I'm just saying.
I mean, I'd
wouldn't
love
be
to talk
surprised
about
if we see it
Aston
at
and
one
I hanging
point.
out, but the game was not good.
But but so I mean, we've got City that we're looking to next, and we've got Spurs as well. So I think that, obviously those two games are going to be really, really important in terms of, are we able to finally compete in these like games that we have not been this season.
We got Jorginho about to win the Golden Boot on penalties alone.
Jesus. Yeah, just like Vlahovic. Let me actually change the question then and pass it back off to you guys again. If we haven't quite gone bang yet, and I think it's a fair statement to say that we don't think that we are better than Chelsea or Liverpool or City yet. We may have. I think it's a big deal that we think that we're better than everybody else. To be fair, like the fact that we think that it's fair that we're in fourth. But if we haven't gone bang yet, what do we need? What are we looking for? What are the things that will take us, or at least keep top four for the rest of the season?
Consistency, pure consistency, and health. We've seen teams outpunch their coverage or punch above their weight, like Leicester, like West Ham last season. And the thing that those teams, and I'm talking about Leicester in their championship season and their top four outcomes where they just had an incredibly healthy year because they didn't have a huge squad. We've got a bigger squad, but I mean, we can't afford to be dropping, a lot of our young guns. I don't even want to talk about it or think about it to any kind of long-term injuries. But the reason I think we haven't gone bang yet is because we haven't proven that we are able to do what other teams have been able to do, which is, West Ham got up for a game against Liverpool and knocked them off. Spurs have been able to perform fairly well against the Manchester Cities and the Liverpools of the world. They're not, they're not losing those games automatically. In fact, I think they beat City and they drew against Liverpool recently. So, that's what we need to go bang, is to be able to take those rare points. I don't think we need to go bang this year. I think we just need to stay where we are and get to Europe. And we can get to Europe, as I've said many, many, many times. We can get to Europe doing exactly what we've done over the last 3 months, which is winning almost every game against the teams below us, and learning and getting closer and closer to the teams that are above us. And with the exception of the Everton games, which have to be eliminated. But honestly, Everton and Brentford, if we just take those two out, I think we're on track. But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because we need to prove that there isn't kind of a lull in this situation, and the lull could either come in January, it could come in February. But Jared, are we banging or I don't mean you and me like later.
After the show.
Arsenal.
No, I mean, I what I would add to what
we have a
saying,
special attachment to our computers that allows us.
There are toys that do that.
Yeah, I would add to what you're saying. It kind of goes along with consistency, and we mentioned Everton and Brentford. The one thing I think that we haven't established we're able to do yet is get a result in games when you're not playing well. We've had a lot of games where we went out and played well against good teams and got a decent result. We've obviously like games against Norwich today, we dominate and get the win. But you look at a game like Everton where your team is obviously, you're just not on it. You're not playing well. Good teams find a way to get some sort of result out of that game. And thus far, we haven't really been able to do it. So I think that's kind of the next step for this group of players.
Burnley and Norwich earlier in the season might have been good examples.
Those were the two.
Mm-hmm. But those were teams we should have been spanking. But
I mean, yeah, those aren't games that we should really be. We should be dominating teams like that. We shouldn't be looking to eke a point out against a Norwich City.
Yeah, but I think that to your point, ugly win, right? Yeah, but like, okay, so I know everybody's talking about the Aubameyang thing, which I think everybody needs to chill about. The guy has won 2 FA Cups with us, a Golden Boot with us. The dude's done a lot. Let's not use our success to beat him with. He hasn't complained. He hasn't come out to the media. He hasn't done shit. Okay, so just let him be. If he's gone, he's gone. I agree that we're playing better, but I don't think that's necessarily down to Aubameyang. With
Are
that
we
being,
beating them though, or are we just point? I mean, and if we are, tell me because
I think so. I think the disrespect with the like he's the reason why we suck is why we've sucked for so long is kind of the narrative that's being spun a lot, and I don't think that that's fair. I think Aubameyang was hot even earlier in this season. There was a period of games when he scored like 5 goals in like 4 games or something, and then he cooled off again. So I just don't think it's a fair dichotomy. But what I wanted to say though about that, because let's move on to the future, which is listen, we've got like probably 2 striker spots that we need to fill, right? So like who are we looking at? Because right now I can name midfielders all day that are fantastic that I think that would fit our team. You know, me and Bruno Guimaraes basically have a love affair. But who are the strikers that you think that we could get or that would fit our system that aren't Erling Haaland? You know what I mean?
when you went to your friend's house after we were at the hotel together down in Sarasota, did you go to was your friend Bruno Guimaraes?
Yeah, that's exactly
was that where you slept that night?
Yeah. Him and his he actually, and then we flew to Brazil the day after. It was great. We had tapas.
And you hung out with Aaron Ramsey that night.
Yeah.
Talk shit about Giroud.
Well, Giroud was there too. He was just really sad and in the corner.
Yeah, because you told him he sucked.
Yeah, but I mean, I told him he was pretty. And he just kind of cried, and it did it for me. I don't know. It's a weird thing. Let's move on. What strikers do we think that we should grab? What are you looking at?
Other people to actually host our show. I mean, it's the normal names being thrown out there, but I don't think any of them are realistic. I mean, can we stop talking about Vlahovic because he's not coming? He doesn't want to come.
I don't even think he would be good.
I mean, I don't think he would come here, but with his goal scoring record, I think you sort of, as the kids say, you shoot your shot. I mean,
yeah,
give him a
you
call
have to.
because, I mean, the worst he can say is no, then you cross him off the list and move on. But with his goal scoring record, I think he should still be the top of the list in the first call the team makes.
I like the look of Isak of that Isak guy during the Euros, but he's not had exactly a very good season so far. And who does he play for? Sociedad or something?
Mm-hmm.
Sociedad. That's what my son calls me.
Yeah, I would pass on him too. I don't think the player he is now, when you look at what he's going to cost, which is probably 60+ million, I don't think that's really the market we're in for a guy of his age.
I think we missed the boat on the guy that I really thought would be a natural succession to Laka, not so much to Alba, but to Lacazette. I think we missed out on, and he's playing for Jose Mourinho at Roma now. I really did kind of like that idea of Tammy Abraham.
Well, he may be available in the summer.
Why would that be?
He didn't get a permanent deal to Roma, did he?
I think he did.
Yeah, he did.
I thought he was
permanent.
loaned there with maybe like an option built in. Okay, never mind.
I thought it was. Maybe
I think it's a permanent deal. Yeah.
But speaking of Italy, the one that I say is the replacement for Laka is Lautaro. Yeah, but we're never going to get him. But you find a guy like you, if you go, I know everybody hates stats, but FBref, you look at who has the most interceptions. Laka is like right up there, like he's like in the 99th percentile, and the guy at the top is this guy. And I think that's integral to how we play.
I don't know. You guys keep saying there's no way we're getting him. There's no way we're getting him. I think that with the way that we've been playing, if we can secure that top 4 position, even if we secure, top 5 and a trophy, I think that the Cronkies are on board with this project. With the way that they spent this last summer, and the way that it's been going since they spent that money, it's only been looking good. And it doesn't take a genius to look at this team and say, if they got the right striker, this could be a crazy attack. This could be a insanely good team if we got the right striker. So,
but does it have to be? And I'm not saying this purely financially. I'm saying this like diamond in the rough. Like we've seen a lot. We've seen some guys come to lower Premier League teams, and maybe this is why they've excelled, is because they're playing on a team where they're the focus. But we've seen guys in the mold of Pookie, as a matter of fact, and who's the guy that came to Swansea and like lit it up for a year or two?
The lion. He did the lion thing.
No, not the guy who was.
You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, that guy was my favorite, and I can't remember.
Bonnie? Was it Bonnie? Wilfred Bonnie? No.
No. There's a guy that came to Swansea and lit it up a few years ago. But like there are guys that are kind of middling a little bit, but are good goal scorers. And this is why I open my ears every time I hear an Aston or a Tom Canton. Yes, I'm putting you in the same category. Talk about these guys from Spain or from Portugal or something that I've never heard of. Andre Silva, for example. Jovic might be a bit too late for him, I guess.
I like En-Nesyri over the Moroccan player.
That's another guy
over at Sevilla.
Little,
he's been really impressing me. He's got good height. He seems like a good target man kind of player. Thinking of him getting on the end of Tierney crosses gets me real excited.
I shouldn't be saying Moroccan strikers don't get me excited, because I also this is the same after the Shamak thing, because the same thing about Chelsea retreads, and I want Tammy Abraham. I don't see him in the same way, but yeah, Johnny David's getting a lot of love from Canada. Another Lille player. Again, that shouldn't matter. I'm the person who talks about sunk cost theory all the time, and how we shouldn't care what we paid for players. We should only care what they're capable of. So we certainly shouldn't care what team they came from. We should look at the players individually. But I think there's a lot of people there. The best strikers in the world, the Erling Haaland and Mbappe, we're not going to get them, and I hate to say that, but we're just not. So, but
unless Agent Odegaard comes in there with that whispers sweet Norwegian in his ear.
There was a whole is Norwegian sweet. There was a whole debate on Highbury Squad. About. Yeah, and Soph and Kev and Harry Simeo were going at it about, why is it so out of the realm of possibility that we get Haaland?
Because we won't spend the money necessary. Haaland, the way that we would need to get Haaland right now is if we turned up in January and said, we will pay you more than you're going to get at the end of the summer when you get this contract, and we have to gazump Real Madrid, and we have to gazump Barcelona.
I would love to gazump those motherfuckers.
Me too. Me too.
The best answer, though, was given by Harry, and he said there's two words that describe why we're not going to get Erling Haaland, and the two words are Mino Raiola.
Facts.
It's true.
Demand $600K a week. You think?
If you have a release clause, then presumably any team can talk to you. But if you have a Mino Raiola as your agent, you're going to go to one of four specific teams, because that's where he wants you to go.
Mm-hmm.
And and two of those teams are in Spain, one of them's in England, and one of them is in France. And so that's why it's not going to happen. But
I agreed with Super Kev's take, which is Haaland is the kind of player that is looking for a probable Champions League trophy.
He's looking at a team who's already in the 4 or 5 teams in that discussion.
Exactly. And we need that player that's one level down from where Haaland is in his aspirational career of what he's looking for silverware wise. Because it is, we're not proven yet. It is still like we need a player who is looking at this young team and excited about what they can see us going forward, whereas Haaland is like, I'm kind of the best in the world right now, and I want to go to one of the best in the world right now.
And I agree with that statement, because what I would say is, like, actually the way that you get him, yes, you offer him more money than everybody else, but the other thing that you offer him is what we didn't give Van Persie. You go out and buy an elite center mid and buy an elite, like, whatever we need, like 2 elite players to show him that we're serious, that we have intent, that we have ambition, that you're not just going to sit here and take us from 8th to 4th. You're supposed to sit here and take us from 8th to first to
And
getting
that's
that
following
Champions League
150.
spot.
That's following a 150 million pound net
Yeah.
spend window with a 250 million pound net
Yeah.
spend window, which I just don't think you understand. No, I just don't think it's going to happen.
The upcoming
Yeah,
summer,
yeah.
we have a lot less holes to fill than we did last summer.
Oh, that's
So
not-
whatever our
Which-
budget's going to be, we can concentrate it on just a couple of positions rather than, a half dozen that we bring in to play significant minutes like we did this past year.
Jared, to that point, we're focusing on like what we can get. If we want to turn around and look at our own team, we're halfway through the season. What do you have to say about our players? Like, what do you think so far of the team? Who's dragging us across the line? How do you feel about the transfers? Yeah, let's have it out.
I don't really have a problem with any of our transfers. We have 6 guys that we brought in that are playing significant minutes. I mean, Ramsdale has been a revelation. Tomayasu's been unbelievable. Tavares has been good. Tavares has been well above, I think, any of our expectations, or at least mine. I didn't watch him play prior, and you get a guy of his age for the
You
price.
could say
we got
he's
him.
pushed Tierney back to being Tierney again because
Yeah.
he's had to be pushed.
Yeah.
He needed that.
And
Yeah,
he's
he needed
responded.
that.
And Tierney's been top shelf again. But I think you're looking at a team now, instead of having, potentially 5 or 6 spots that we need to get players into. We've got 2. We need a center mid. Right now, the team's better with Xhaka than without. I know people hate that, but that would be the one position we need to fill, and then a striker. Those are the 2, I think, this summer that we need to focus all of our resources on. And in the others, I think we've got players that are good enough to get us where we want to go next season. And also, they're all pretty young, so you would think they're going to continue to improve and already be better next year than they are this year. So in the aggregate, we're already going to be better. And then just adding those 2 spots, I think, would make the big difference.
Your player of the season so far?
I would have to say probably Ramsdale. I think he's deserving thus far. But I did make the comment the other day. I think he was getting our Player of the Month award. I said, at age 23, he might be the oldest player to get it this season. As crazy as that sounds, I think there's a good
He's a
possibility
proper
that could be the
geezer.
case.
Old boy. I do think something that I wanted to bring up here, I wanted your guys' opinions on, is I personally really am on board with the idea of trying to get Nketiah to sign a new deal. I think
So that we can sell him, or so that we can play him?
so that we can play him, so that he can be a squad player. If we're looking at, it looks like Lacazette does not want to sign a new deal, which I completely understand. He's 30 years old. He wants to see if he can get one more, big 2 or 3 year deal contract at a top level club to secure that bag, as they say. And obviously, with it looking like Aubameyang may be on his way out, may be looking for other options. It doesn't look like Balogun's anywhere near ready, which is not his fault. I'm totally fine with him, going out on loan for a year and a half. I think that'll do him worlds of good. But if we're gonna be trying to bring in a striker numero uno for this next year, who else do we have to be a squad player, especially if we're going to be in Europe? We're going to have more competitions. We're going to be playing more games. Hopefully, we better be. And I think that we're going to need the squad depth. And I totally understand from Nketiah's point of view as a player of maybe thinking that he's ready to be a number 1 guy somewhere else and not be a squad player. So I understand why why we haven't really been able to get that contract over the line. But from the club's perspective, I think the deal makes total sense if we can find a way to get him on to be a squad player, because we're going to need one. And the thought of signing 2 strikers in the summer seems a lot more difficult. I'd rather the club just focus on their guy and go get the one.
I think Nketiah's agent fancies him as a 100,000 a week, lower level Premier League starter, in the mold of like the kind of contract, presumably that and the spot that Edouard got with Palace, or and I don't know what went wrong with those negotiations with Palace last season, but I think. I don't know what Nketiah thinks, but I think the agent is essentially thinking this guy needs to be a Premier League starter on a reasonable wage package, not a 60,000 a week squad player for Arsenal who gets his chances every once in a while. I agree with you 100%. I think he could do bits in that position, but he doesn't want to be in that position, and he's going to run out his contract. So that's that. Lacazette's going to run out his contract. If you could get Lacazette to sign a 1-year contract to stay next year, would you sign another? And if you thought Aubameyang had played his last game, so essentially, stick with what we have right now. Would you do that through next year, or would you still have to sign another striker on top of that?
You still definitely need to sign a striker because you have to remember we're the youngest team in Premier League, right? So these guys are developing and learning patterns of play and all these things, and you're going to wait until when, like they're 25, 26 to drop a new striker on them. Drop a striker on them right now. Watch him blow up like all the other guys are blowing up because they're young and fresh. Now, here's where I take.
Is it that bad to get most of our goals from our wingers though?
It's not.
It's not 6 games.
No, but they only get their goals because Lacazette is doing what he does in the middle. I don't think they do.
I'm asking the question: if you can get him for another year, would you say, okay, you know what, we'll solidify our spot in Europe? You could get a striker that is Lacazette of the future, so that we can sit and they can do that forever and not just next year. To me, that was Tammy Abraham.
But to your point on Nketiah, this is where we disagree about what I think his agent and what I think him think. I think he may end up staying and may end up taking that spot because this is the truth. He doesn't start for a Premier League team. He doesn't. There's not a single Premier League team, I think, right now that would take him, would switch them, Nketiah, for what they have. And that's the problem.
You don't think he's better than Pookie?
No, I was going to say Norwich. I think Norwich could definitely use him.
The problem. No. You guys all laugh about that, but when have you seen Eddie Nketiah like link up play?
Not St. Maximin, but like who's Newcastle's target man?
Oh, geez, I don't even
Callum
think
Wilson
he gets
in the middle is pretty decent.
Yeah. And I don't think he takes Pookie's spot because they need a player they need midfielders that are going to advance the ball up the field. I don't think Nketiah adds anything to their team that Pookie doesn't.
I'd say maybe a newly promoted side.
And they're going and
money would maybe be an Nketiah suitor, something like that. I could see.
And Norwich isn't a Premier League team anyway, so
that's a fact.
That's true. They're League One at best. They're the first team to get promoted that should have actually been relegated.
So if Nketiah wants to start, he has to go abroad, in my opinion. I think he has to go abroad. Does he want to do that? I'm not sure. That's up to him. Maybe he's down for that. But I just don't think that I don't think that he starts in the Premier League. I really don't. I think that you've seen him bully some lower league teams, and we're thinking, oh, Sunderland, but we've seen Nketiah in Premier League level.
We all have the proper context on those performances now, though. I don't think anybody, even myself, who used to mostly just to get under Tom Canton's skin. I used to constantly talk about Nketiah and his capability, all the goals he scored in the U23s, kind of like a Balogun type or Chuba Abcom type, as somebody had mentioned to me, where they're just too good for the 23s but not good enough for Premier League action. I think now everybody kind of understands that Eddie Nketiah is a good fox in the box when there's space for him to operate in and get into those positions, which there won't be against Liverpool. There won't be against United. There won't be, he's the king of, he is what I used to call Alex Chamberlain, which is Mr. July. And you could say the same thing. Mr. July could also be Mr. League Cup. It's the same kind of thing. He's dominant in those positions, but start him against Tottenham in the derby in January, and I'm feeling awful about our chances in that game. So that tells you where he is in his game. So I think we're all kind of generally in agreement that he's not good enough to play for Arsenal, that he might be good enough to have as a squad player, but he's not going to do that. And he's really got no incentive to do that at this point, because whatever club he signs with now, he can get the signing bonus instead of a transfer fee. And that's where he's going to go. Yeah. Yo-Yo in the chat, Leeds, Palace, possibly West Ham. He wouldn't be awful at West Ham. I mean, he's not going to replace Mikel Antonio.
Yeah, but who does he displace in any of those teams? No offense to, I love Eddie. Hail in till I die.
Well,
But, like,
Eddie couldn't
who does
displace
he dis-
Bamford when he was on loan there, but these teams evolve over time. They might change their formations. Their coaches are constantly changing. So I don't know.
Arsenal's constantly changing.
He might. Would you rather be the second choice forward or the fourth choice forward?
I mean,
Yeah.
I think Abba and Locke could go. I think you keep Eddie. If you keep Eddie, Abba and Locke are gone in the summer. I think Aubameyang very likely. By the way,
and Eddie are gone in the summer.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to lose all three, which is why I brought
yeah.
this up, because I'm a little
Yeah.
nervous if we lose all three, which it looks like is a very distinct possibility for
You
us.
can just play ESR in the false nine like you did against Villarreal. And,
There we go.
Colin, I'm interested to know who's your player of the season so far?
Man, that is tough, which is nice. It's so nice that it's tough this year to decide. I'm going to go with Smith Rowe, just because even though he hasn't really been able to get into this team, that's by no means an indication of his performances this season. And I'm sure he knows that. I'm sure he's not sitting on the bench thinking like, oh, this is brutal.
and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it's
Like-
great. It's great.
We used to just worry about the players' mentalities. Oh, Alexis Sanchez got subbed off and he's throwing his gloves on the ground. I mean, fuck all that. This is all behind us now. Emil Smith Rowe, and I'm sorry, Colin, I'm jumping in and I'm agreeing with you, and he's my player of the year as well. He's still scoring goals, even though he's getting 1/8 of the playing time that he was last week. And things will go back. There'll be a little twinge or something will happen or fixture congestion, and ESR will get his spot back, and Odegaard might sit or Martinelli might sit for a few games, and it's all good because everybody's still plugged in. And I mean, ESR scoring more goals as a sub than he was as a starter right now. I mean, that's just there's no rhyme or reason to it. But
He's fourth in the Golden Boot race right now.
Yeah, only 3 guys have more goals than him in the Premier League this year.
is one Jorginho with penalties?
Surprisingly, no. It's Salah, Jota, and Jamie Vardy, I think, still have more than him.
Yeah.
Jota's been insane this season.
And to be fair, if you haven't noticed the little subtlety, he might actually have played on Wolves and he might play on City in the City game, because if you think about it, Martinelli didn't score or assist today. His spots might be actually up, and that is the best problem in the universe to have. Because the reason why ESR couldn't get in the team is because the 4 attacking players were scoring every single game. So now, I mean, it's such a silly thing. But yeah, Gabriel technically could have lost a spot to ESR just by virtue of not scoring.
Gabriel Martinelli.
Yeah, Martinelli. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I don't think that. Again, I think that when you have a mindset and proper man management, and man management has been the biggest criticism of Arteta so far, and I don't get it. I mean, I understand where it comes from, but in the grand scheme of things, I think there's enough contra examples of the Willian playing thing and the Aubameyang banishing thing. I think there's enough thing where he has got these guys in his corner. The core of this team: Tierney, Benjamin White, and every single one of the young guns. They all understand apparently what he's trying to do, and are playing their ass off for him right now.
It's so clear to see. And even the guys who we always associate as being the outsiders seem like even they're able to, get in and enjoy that game time. Like that Leeds game that we played in the Carabao Cup, where you see guys like Callum Chambers and Kolasinac and Cedric Suarez, Mohamed El Neni just living it up and celebrating.
Everybody understands their place.
Even bad attitude Pepe has come on and managed to not sulk it up. Like you love to see it. Like Pepe actually legitimately looks like, hey, I need to do something because my spot's gone. Like I'm so far down the pecking order right now.
Was that bad attitude Pepe in quotations, or were you actually because I haven't seen him have a bad attitude particularly. As long as we're protecting Aubameyang against the slagging off. Pepe's not really done anything wrong other than not been able to get in the lineup.
No. To be fair, when I say bad attitude, I mean specifically Pepe shows a tendency to sulk for games after he doesn't do well. Like if he gets that red card against Leeds, if you remember, his performances dip afterwards. Like he takes games to get in, and that's what I associate when I mean bad attitude. I don't mean like he's an unsportsmanlike player. He's very sportsmanlike, but I just think that he gets a little in his own head and has a confidence thing. And I'm pointing out that he hasn't needed a game or two to get going. He came into that Sunderland game and said, "Fuck it, let's go."
Anyone really notice anything? I mean, he didn't have many minutes today, but I didn't. I mean, and again, this isn't relevant to anything long term, but like, how did he play when he came on today? I wasn't super focused on that.
I mean, it's one if we were doing player ratings, I'd say wasn't on long enough to rate. I mean,
yeah.
Did he technically get the assist? Did he technically get the assist for that Smith Rowe 5th goal? I think it may have taken the pass may have taken a little deflection off a defender.
Well, definitely took a deflection, but I don't know the rule about whether you get the assist on that or not. But all right, so let's we're at almost 2 hours. It turned into an open mic followed by an actual podcast where the two of you were guests, which is great because I just I just got my second bottle of champagne delivered, but we are going to finish up. Jared has to go save the world.
And we need to hear some boxers from Aston and
yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. We need man of the match, and we need your Arsenal boxers. Aston, start with your man of the match today. Out of all of these wonderful performances, who are you?
Odegaard is a huge shout, but it has to go to Starboy Saka. We sat here and we said, Saka, why can't you bring that England form into your game? Saka, you seem like such a great talent, but you really need to put up the numbers. Saka is putting up the numbers, and that second goal was emphatic. He's like a wizard with his left foot now, and I love it. You love to see it.
Yeah, there have been some comparisons, not by me, but when I was on the post-game show with the Bergkamp Wonderland, there was a lot of discussion about both of his goals being of the Arjen Robben variety. I don't know that I go that far because they were a little tighter. Arjen Robben was like, he was out further. He was so much more obvious, and you still couldn't stop it. Saka was a little bit tighter touches and a little closer to goal, but yeah, Bukayo Saka was an absolute monster today.
Did you know that Saka is the highest contributing goal threat under the age of 21 in the Premier League? He has more goals and assists than any other player under the age of 21. And
so ESR must be 21.
Smith Rowe.
Yeah. ESR hit the 21 mark.
Yeah, that's the only reason he's not eligible. And there's still a guy, and I could name him right now because I have his name at the top of my mind. But I'm not going to do that. There was a guy in the Arsenal America Facebook community who said this season, like in September of this season, I believe, that Saka was the most overrated player in the Premier League. That he didn't get stuck in, that he had no goal contributions inside the 18, that he was just beloved because he was this cute young England footballer. And I think that post that he made was deleted because I looked for it earlier today, and it was nowhere to be found.
Yeah,
Saka's your man of the match. Think about your boxer, Colin. Your man of the match.
Mine's Bukayo Saka as well. Honestly, I was thinking about changing it up because of Aston grabbed him, but
four people have grabbed
it. It is what it is. I agree with Aston that I was like, maybe I should choose Odegaard because he went with Saka because he was fantastic as well. But it's amazing how quickly we've taken this guy for granted. Like, if he gives us an 8 out of 10, no one's really even talking about him because that's just kind of what we've come to expect from this guy. No one talks about his age anymore, which is bananas. He's a bit like Trent Alexander-Arnold in that respect, where people just stopped talking about his age because he just became that good, that consistently.
He's no longer a good young footballer. He is a good footballer.
He's just like, he's one of the best wingers in the league this season. That's just what he is. No one even really talks about the fact that he can't drink alcohol in the United States of America. But he just beats his man. It's kind of wild. I saw a tweet today that was like, he doesn't really look that fast or that tricky, but he just makes it look like it's insanely easy to just beat his fullback
He
every
creates
single game.
he creates just enough space. There was the point early in the game where he was able to get a cross off to Lacazette, and Lacazette kind of fluffed his lines with the header. I mean, that defender was giving him no space, and he found it. He found just enough to get the cross in. So yeah, Saka's a great call. I mean, just to be different, I want to point out, as well as being my boxer, Tierney was phenomenal today. You know, all of the goal contributions, or most of them anyway, well, all but one of them, which Tierney scored himself, came from Saka and from Odegaard and from Martinelli and even Pepe, as you talked about. But Tierney, I mean, between starting the first goal with his interception, I mean, you're seeing all of these team goals go back to a point where we're winning the ball back in midfield.
Shout out Martinelli.
Martinelli did it on the second goal, I think.
He's getting so good at that.
Tierney did it on the first goal. I mean, we're winning the ball back, and then about 30 to 40 seconds later, after Odegaard does his thing, we're scoring. And it's, I mean, you can't help but understand where these goals came from, because all the other goals we came from started with Ramsdale. and it's just, I mean, it's so fun to watch. So I'm going to go with Tierney as the man of the match. I'm going to give him a shout because in addition to his goal today, which was fantastic, he has just regained his spot as being future captain, leader, rock, crosser, just everything to this team, and crowd facilitator. After his goal today, man, that shit means so much to me. I mean, look, I love Saka's knee slide. He did so much. He needs to teach Patino how to do a knee slide. Patino's got some time, but Saka's knee slide, complete with the quarter turn to the left at the end, was phenomenal. But I got to give it to Tierney today. Jared, have you done your man of the match yet?
No, and I know he's been taken by everybody, but rightfully so. I think scoring the brace, you would have to give it to Saka. If I was going to give a shout to anybody else, it would be Martin Odegaard. I think he's kind of the engine that makes Arsenal go and kind of connects the play. And he does the difficult passes and the easy passes really well. The first goal to Saka, you know, it's kind of the obvious play to just lay it off to him and let him do his thing. And then when you saw Martinelli recover the ball for our second goal and send it to him, he immediately turns and whips a long pass to Tierney, spot on target, and sets up the second. So
in stride,
he played a great game, but I would still go Saka just because of the two goals. It's hard to not give him his credit.
Well, the Gooners podcast man of the match is by a landslide Bukayo Saka. But the boxer situation is still up for grabs. So I've given mine as Tierney. Jared has teased that he's got someone else in mind. Aston, who's yours?
Well, it took some thought. My first gut instinct was to go with Ramsdale because he's absolutely fucking nuts. And that's what you wanted. Like, he just would crazy fight somebody. But the thing is he might lose himself in the fight, and, you might get something scrappy. My thing is, and what I am completely shocked about, nice to know that we have classy fans, but you're suggesting a fighting tournament, and nobody's picked Takehiro Tomiyasu. Like, come on.
Well,
I'm
talking boxing, though. I mean,
it's a no-brainer. He's
is it wrong and racist to assume that he would prefer to use karate than boxing?
If you follow Tomiyasu like I do, shout out to we have a wonderful Gooner that's been translating his articles. Takehiro actually writes articles back home to Japan, and he has a column, and he actually is, describing his experience being a Japanese player in Europe and all that. And he actually does talk. He does have a lot of national pride, and he does fancy the martial arts. And he's 6'1", and he's on job all the time. All the time. He's on job right now. If I call him up right now, I'm like, "Hey, Takehiro, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm on job." Hangs up. Like that's the guy.
That sounds like this sounds from personal experience right here.
Yeah, well, I mean,
they're pals.
You have his number.
Pals.
All right, so you're going with Okay, yeah, you're going with Tomiyasu. That's legit. Colin, your boxer for Boxing Day.
I'm gonna shake it up too. I'm gonna hit Benjamin White for my boxer. I think honestly, a lot of it is all the stuff outside the ring. He fits the mold.
Outside the ring.
I love. He did it today too, but he is picking up this amazing trend of any time in the game he bullies his opponent, and there was a picture of it. He's throwing it on the gram, which I love. I love. He had those moments today. I think he threw it on his story of him going face to face with a couple of Norwich players. I think he last week or a week or two, the match against West Ham, he posted a photo of him just throwing Mikel Antonio to the floor. I love it. I think he's got the whole boxer vibe going. He's got that Floyd Money Mayweather kind of attitude about him.
All right, that's a great call, and I like the reasoning given behind it. You clearly did put some thought into it. And now comes the time in the final minute of the podcast where Jared reveals his boxer for the 2021 Boxing Day Arsenal Boxer Championship.
And it's amazing no one said this person yet. When I think boxer, I want size, speed, athleticism, and someone with a good reach and also has a little bit of an edge to him.
Peter Crouch?
Tavares is a slam dunk here.
Ooh.
He's got crazy footwork. He's lightning quick. Got long arms. He'll have a good jab. That's my guy. I'm rolling with Tavares.
You know what? It's that's a great call. I didn't think about that. Tavares. No one picked Thomas Partey. If it was kickboxing, we could, because we know he's got that strong foot.
His head's too big. He'd be too easy to hit.
You love to see it because like you could pick any one of our defenders that for once, like none of our defenders have a soft touch. And like Colin brought up, like I love how every game somebody goes face to face with like White, and then our team of defenders surrounds them, and then they just go, oh, maybe I'm not picking a fight, and they run away.
Well, it has been a 2-hour love fest of Arsenal. Unfortunately, we will not be having an open mic morning in the U.S. on Tuesday, as we found out. We'll see about January 1st. But whenever the next time that we're here, we'll either be here or on the Highbury squad. Thank you, Aston. Thank you, Colin. Jared, give me some help here. Thank you to Daniel, to Fergus, to who else joined us? Alonzo,
Fergus, you said. We had a good group today. It was a fun conversation. Yeah. I appreciate you guys sticking around for a while to extend it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and obviously you're more than welcome to come back. We got regulars. We got the one or two occasionally that break their duck, and we love that as well. Drago was with us today. It was good to see him. And Yo-Yo, in our boxer situation, we forbade anyone from choosing Kolasinac for obvious reasons. So thanks again for joining us. Arsenal are solid fourth in the table. We will not be having an open mic, at least for the last few days of 2020. So 2021. Happy New Year to everybody, and come on, you Gooners.